All right, thank you everyone and welcome to our science series, Growing Resilience, Adapting for Climate Change at Longwood Gardens. I'm Dr. Jessica Turner-Scoff, Associate Director of Science Communications, and I want to say thank you so much for choosing to spend your time today learning with us. Fitting for today's presentation, I found a wonderful quote by the Erich Fromm. In times of change, learners inherit the earth. Before we begin, we have a couple of quick housekeeping notes and some exciting opportunities to learn more. First of all, as you may have noticed, your cameras and microphones are turned off for this session, so please sit back and enjoy. If you need closed captioning, there is a button at the bottom which can help you with that. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box at any time, and we'll answer as many as we can. Next slide. Yeah, perfect. Okay. This session is being recorded and it will be shared on our Science at Longwood YouTube channel. So if you like what you see today in this webinar, please feel free to go and see other talks that our experts have given. Next slide. We have an upcoming science series, Water Lilies and Water Platters, where we will be returning back to the ballroom, and you can hear from our Director of Conservation, Horticulture and Collections, Dr. Peter Zale. In September in the ballroom, we will have landscape architect Jonathan Alderson talking about From Concept to Conservation, the journey of Longwood's Meadow Garden. There's also a lot of amazing opportunities through our continuing education courses. You can attend a class on gardening with a changing climate. We also have sustainable garden practices, which will be a multi-day experience. You can also explore at home or on site. We have our sustainability efforts. There's a link to a publication that we recently wrote. There's also spotlight tours where you can learn more on site and explore with what we are thinking about in regards to making sure Longwood is Longwood in perpetuity. And with that, I would like to welcome today's acclaimed speaker. Chris Cole is Vice President of Horticulture at Longwood Gardens, where he leads an 150-person team in advancing the garden's world-class displays, ecological stewardship, and horticultural excellence. With more than 35 years of international experience, Chris brings deep expertise in sustainable garden management and climate-responsive designs. Before joining Longwood in 2024, Chris served as Executive Director of Royal Botanic Gardens Melbourne, overseeing a 94-acre heritage landscape visited by 2 million people annually. There, he led major climate initiatives, including founding the Climate Change Alliance of Botanic Gardens, a global network of over 500 institutions, and implementing the award-winning Working Wetlands Project, which reduced irrigation water by 40%. So yeah, he's a big deal. Chris is widely recognized for his leadership in sustainable horticulture, ecological planning, and public engagement. And with that, Chris, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for that wonderful warm welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be here today and to share with you all the climate change work that we've been doing at Longwood Gardens. But as Jessica mentioned, just before my work at Longwood Gardens commenced, I was the Executive Director at Royal Botanic Gardens Melbourne for over 14 years, where I led a team in developing the world's first landscape succession strategy, planning ahead to be ready for a different climate. And this is the part of the expertise that I'm bringing to Longwood today as we craft our future-focused strategy. So before we get into the details, let's make sure that we're on the same page and talk about weather and climate. Weather refers to the short-term atmospheric conditions in a specific place at a specific time. This includes factors like temperature, humidity, precipitation, wind speed, and also visibility. Weather can change daily, as we know, and often varies significantly from one location to another. Climate, on the other hand, describes the long-term patterns and averages of weather conditions in a particular region, typically measured over a long period, 30 years or more. It encompasses trends in temperature, precipitation, and seasonal variations. In short, weather is what you experience day to day, while climate is the long-term trend. And first and foremost, we're not here to debate the topic of climate change today. Science is not about absolute truths, it's about the process of finding truth and using the best data available. Scientists interpret and seek to understand the world around us. It's a collaborative effort where researchers build on one another's work to ask better questions and improve predictions. Those predictions are only as strong as the data behind them, which is why so much effort goes into collecting the right data in the right way. As our knowledge grows, so does our understanding. And since the 1800s, scientists have recognized that increasing levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere can raise Earth's surface temperature. In the 128 years since, the evidence has only become stronger. And today, over 99% of peer-reviewed scientific literature, research that has undergone rigorous scrutiny, links human activity to climate change. This level of consensus in science is almost unprecedented. So we are in this together, and if climate change feels overwhelming or frightening, then you're not alone. And research has shown that many Americans drastically underestimate how many others believe in climate change and support climate action. This perception gap often discourages people from speaking up or engaging in the conversation itself. But the truth is, people care and they want to do something about this complex global issue. And we are working to reduce the stigma around talking about climate change. And I encourage you to do the same. Honest conversations matter, and they are a powerful step towards meaningful action. So this is a story of hope, and despite some of the alarming information that we'll discuss today, it's important to remember that this conversation is rooted in resilience and hope. Yes, uncertainty can be challenging to plan for, but here's the good news. Smart, dedicated people around the world are thinking deeply about these issues and actively planning for the future. We're doing the same. As an institution, we are being proactive, and I'm excited to share how we're not only preparing, but leading the charge. Obviously, we care about this topic because we are charged with being stewards of not only this world-class garden, but the global garden. Plants and diversity are an essential component of the human experience, and we strive to connect people to them. And you can see the mission of Longwood Gardens on the page in front of you. Of course, each steward contributes to a vision of these magnificent gardens. The landscapes we care for today have been shaped and stewarded by many hands across generations, and we honour and build upon the legacy of those who came before us. The Lenni-Lenape communities who lived in relationship with and stewarded these lands for generations. The Pierce family of Quakers who planted a 6-hectare arboretum here in 1798. And of course, Pierre S. and Alice DuPont, who saved the trees and cultivated extraordinary gardens at Longwood. And of course, the many staff, volunteers and partners who continue this wonderful work today. At Longwood, we carry forward these legacies with care, respect, and a commitment to stewardship for the future. Our commitment to climate work is highlighted under our conservation pillar in our soon-to-be launched long-term science strategy here at Longwood Gardens. You can see there under number 4, with the objective of leading the climate resiliency of our landscape, and we'll delve deeply into this work today. So just to set the scene for you, what might we expect in 80, 90 years' time? By 2090, the summers in southeastern Pennsylvania are projected to be over 10 degrees Fahrenheit or 5.9 Celsius warmer and 3.5% wetter compared to historical averages. Winters are expected to be 10 degrees Fahrenheit or 5.5 degrees Celsius warmer and 18.7% wetter. This means noticeably hotter and more humid summers, along with milder, rainier winters. Trends that can affect everything from local ecosystems and water management to agriculture and daily life. So by 2090, strikingly, the climate at Longwood is projected to resemble the conditions currently found in Oil City, Louisiana. This shift gives us a glimpse into the future and helps guide our planning from plant selection to garden design. And on a global scale, southeastern Pennsylvania is expected to experience climate conditions like those in southeastern China or southwestern Japan, those conditions that they experience today. So those insights help us strategically focus our plant exploration and our conservation efforts in regions that reflect our future climate reality. So the closest garden that we could find 65 years from now is Dallas Arboretum and Botanic Garden. And there you can see beautiful avenues of crepe myrtle. Is this something that we might experience at Longwood Gardens by the end of the century? To commence our work at Longwood Gardens, we have been focusing on our longest-lived assets. These are our trees, and in particular, we focused in the formal gardens, which comprises of 146 acres and almost 4,000 trees with 477 taxa. And I'll talk you through the work that we've been doing just recently over the next few slides. So a rather busy map, I will agree. Those are all the trees in the gardens, in the formal gardens at the moment. And one of the tools we have been using to guide our work is the climate assessment tool, or commonly known as the CAT, which was developed by the Climate Change Alliance of Botanic Gardens and the Botanic Gardens Conservation International, BGCI. And the tool is available on the BGCI website. The climate assessment tool provides guidance on the likely suitability of taxa to the predicted future climate scenarios of a selected location. It achieves this by taking data sets of current known occurrences of taxa, such as those observed in the wild, in botanic gardens, and in general cultivation, and compares the current climate of those known occurrences to the predicted climate. By comparing the two climates, a suitability score can be generated. It is this predictive modelling which supports informed decision-making on selection or evaluating plants for our living plant collections and landscapes. And we must not forget the plasticity in plants and their ability to adapt and evolve to changing situations. So must always treat this modelling as a management tool to make informed decisions. And just in reference to the map that you can see on the screen, you will see the modelling was applied to a current situation with all our trees. And really good news at the moment is that all the trees that we have in the garden, bar 1%, are suitable for the current climate. As we fast forward under a high emissions scenario to 2050, the picture doesn't look quite so good. You can see that 37% of those trees that we currently have in the gardens will be suitable for that future climate in 2050. But alarmingly, there's 16% that are not found in those conditions. So, may well not be suitable for those future climatic conditions as we head towards 2050. And also there are some that do occur at 47%. If we fast forward to the high emissions scenario at 2090, the picture becomes somewhat bleak, with only 15% of those trees that we currently have in the gardens suitable for that future climate. A further 28% do occur around the world in this climate, and also 48% are unlikely to be found in this future climate, and indeed 9% are not found at all. So those are the ones that are really at risk. So it helps us really target those at-risk populations within our gardens in terms of future climate suitability. And remember, this is just the trees, this is not the shrub layer or our natural lands. So we've got a lot of work to do in this space, and we really have just started scratching the surface. So our agenda for today, we're framing the conversation about climate change around 4 key themes. The Longwood experience: how are we managing the transition of our landscapes in a changing climate while preserving the character, beauty and spirit that define Longwood? Our goal is to adapt with intention, honouring our past while preparing for the future. The second one is plants. How can we support biodiversity in our natural areas to strengthen overall ecosystem health? From species selection to stewardship practices, our plant work is a core strategy for resilience. Thirdly, water at Longwood. We take a one water approach, recognising that surface water, groundwater and stormwater are all interconnected and every drop has value. By managing water holistically, we ensure that every drop leaving our property is clean, sustainable and capable of supporting life. And finally, connection. We do not work in isolation. Our efforts and those of our partners are part of a larger shared response to climate change. It's essential that we share what we learn, collaborate across disciplines and empower others to do the same. So maintaining the Longwood experience into the future. It's critical that we maintain the landscape characteristics while undertaking this work and transitioning the gardens to a palette of plants that is resilient to the future climate. This is a long-term project that will continue for decades. And this is a photo of our Italian water garden, which many of you may well know and be fond of. And the tillias surrounding the garden are not projected to thrive in the climatic conditions that are 65 years away. So if we do nothing, the image is a possible outcome. As you can see, trees are an essential component of the characteristics of the landscape. They provide the framework and canvas for more detailed elements. We're planning our path forward. We're producing actionable steps and preparing for the future so we never have to see the Italian water garden like this. It may not be the same species, but we will add new trees that retain the feeling and experience that you get in this space today. Another example, Pierce's Park, where we have a large collection of hemlocks or the sugas. These are identified as being at risk in the future climate years. Plant exploration is one option to make sure we still have towering trees to preserve the character and historic qualities of this space. We also can transfer susceptible species to other botanic gardens that will have more suitable future climate for such species. And this meta collection approach, so outside of the walls of Longwood Gardens, helps to provide opportunities for thousands of botanic and public gardens to work together in conserving threatened plants. Of course, Longwood is a living laboratory, and current plants have withstood the test of time. At Longwood, trees planted historically means our gardens are indeed that living laboratory, providing decades of insight into how trees age, adapt, and respond to change. These legacy plantings, many selected for their ornamental value, their hardiness, or novelty at the time, now help us understand long-term species performance in the face of evolving environmental pressures. And by observing how these mature trees have weathered storms, resisted pests, and coped with changing climate patterns, our teams gained valuable data that informs future tree selection and care. And these historic specimens not only reflect the horticultural thinking of their time, but also serve as critical benchmarks in our ongoing efforts to build resilient, sustainable landscapes for the future. A common remit of public and botanic gardens is to undertake research to test the boundaries within a managed landscape environment. And indeed, in 1955, we received the Cedrus deodara that was collected in Pakistan by Howard Scott Gentry. There were several trees planted in the golf course area at Longwood, and the one that is left has survived over the past 70 years. We've also seen this with southern magnolia, and with our collections and our records, we can keep track of how plants fare over the long term and make recommendations for what might support a more resilient landscape as we move forwards. We can also see that native species combine with ornamental traits with disease resistance and greater heat tolerance. And a great example here is a potential replacement for the red oak Quercus rubra is Quercus valcata. Plant exploration at Longwood. We have a long history and a rich history of plant exploration at Longwood Gardens. And drivers for trips have evolved over time. We focused on introducing plants for ornamental value, as well as for breeding and research. And in 1956, Dr. Siebert, the first director of the gardens here at Longwood, initiated a plant introduction program. He knew that plant introductions from other parts of the world could expand our gardens and increase the diversity and interest within them. And in 1960, we developed a whole new program of scientific research to do trials and breeding with recently introduced plants. And this included a collaboration with the USDA. The New Guinea impatiens resulted from plant programs carried out here at Longwood. And we, as you can see from the map, we have visited some of these places multiple times, and those dates are listed under each country. And of course, that work continues today. Moving forward, we are focusing much of our plant exploration efforts on areas that will have similar climates to what is predicted in 2090. And this, as you can see from the map, includes South Central and Southeast US, the Balkans and Southwest Europe, and many parts of Asia. The North American China Plant Exploration Consortium, otherwise known as NACPEC, we've been working with NACPEC for a long time, and their mission is to foster international partnerships in the study and conservation of the world's temperate flora. And since its founding in 1991, NACPEC was to facilitate the exchange of plant germplasm and knowledge between North America and China. NACPEC has supported numerous expeditions to China during which plant explorers from the partner institutions have collected seeds, herbarium specimens, and DNA samples to support research and conservation in North American collections. NACPEC has also benefited Chinese institutions and botanists who have taken part in expeditions or received training in the United States. Reciprocation of plant material to Chinese gardens has also been possible, making this a very positive collaboration in every way. And of course, conservation. The success of plant exploration and plant collection is heavily dependent on species existing, and Longwood and many other botanic gardens are critical as ex situ plant conservation sites. And our gardens will continue to evolve, and we will adapt. And through a thoughtful blend of native and exotic plants, we will embrace evolving species composition while ensuring that the character and experience of our gardens endure for generations to come. So the changes will often be very subtle, but very important in terms of climate resiliency. So moving on to plants and managing biodiversity in natural areas, and how can we manage and maintain biodiversity in those areas to support ecosystem health? At Longwood Gardens, our natural lands encompass a mosaic of meadows, forests, wetlands, and transitional habitats, each with its own distinct character and ecological needs. Stewarding these ever-changing landscapes calls for an adaptive science-based approach grounded in observation and active care. Through detailed mapping and classification, we've identified more than 200 unique plant communities across our entire property, giving us a deep understanding of the land's complexity. This knowledge shapes how we care for these species, guiding our efforts to support the extraordinary diversity of life they hold. As stewards of this landscape, we are committed to creating the conditions that allow these ecosystems and all the organisms within them to flourish. Our work includes invasive species removal, soil restoration, reforestation, using climate-informed plant selections, and plantings designed to increase structural and species diversity. We also monitor phenology, or the timing of life, when certain species leaf out and bloom. We track certain wildlife activity and evaluate the success of plantings over time, adjusting strategies as we learn. And each effort is really shaped by the desire to enhance ecosystem resilience and biodiversity while supporting the long-term ecological function of these lands. We continually balance ambition with practicality, aiming to create lasting positive impact across hundreds of acres with the capacity and time we have available. Our stewardship is both a responsibility and a long-term investment in the future of this land. Climate-ready planting in natural areas. At Longwood Gardens, we're integrating climate-ready planting strategies into our natural lands work with careful attention to ecological context, long-term resilience, and research-based decision-making. And here's how we're approaching it in three key areas. Assisted population migration. We're sourcing plant material for certain species from more southern populations within their native range, or purchasing from southern nurseries, especially when those species are already at or near the northern edge of their range. This helps us to test and build resilience to future climate conditions while maintaining regional genetic integrity where possible. One key limitation in this is the availability of provenance tracked seed or plant material, which we're working on to address through collaboration and seed collection efforts. Moving on to assisted range expansion. This is where we're really selectively introducing species that occur just south of Longwood and whose current range is a slightly warmer hardiness zone. These decisions are grounded in ecological suitability and climate modelling, helping us support species that are likely to thrive here in the coming decades. And finally, assisted species migration, reforestation. In some reforestation efforts, we're trialling species that are not yet native to our area, but are projected to be suited to our future climate. These plantings are approached cautiously, of course, with research and monitoring in place in a controlled environment and typically integrated into long-term experimental plots to assess outcomes over time. This work is part of our broader strategy to steward natural areas that are both ecologically rich and climate resilient while continuing to learn and adapt as conditions shift. So water. With climate change, they say water will be too little, too much, too polluted. If we are thinking holistically about the future, we need to make sure that we are managing our water appropriately to ensure that every drop of water leaving our property is clean and capable of supporting life. We take a comprehensive approach to surface water quality through our One Water approach. This philosophy recognises that all water, whether surface water, groundwater, or stormwater, is interconnected and requires holistic management to protect the health of our ecosystems. And no conversation about our work is complete without addressing how we support healthy waterways. 6 small streams flow from the Longwood property, eventually reaching the Delaware Bay. In addition, over 26 acres of our property are classified as aquatic, ranging from wetlands to ponds. To ensure that every drop of water leaving our property is clean and capable of supporting life, we take a comprehensive approach to surface water quality. And one key example is our reforestation and habitat reforestation efforts. We plant native trees and shrubs along streams and wetlands to cool the water, filter runoff, stabilise banks, and provide essential habitat for native species. And to date, almost 2,400 feet of riparian buffer, the area along streams that was historically removed for agricultural purposes, has been restored. We use native species that have many benefits for wildlife, from habitat to food. Additionally, stormwater leaving the property travels through an interconnected system of basins, swales, and constructed wetlands designed to attenuate runoff and trap sediment. Streamside restoration is essential for our economic future and human health because it protects water quality, migrates flood risks, and it supports biodiversity, all of which directly impact public health by ensuring access to clean water and reducing waterborne diseases. Additionally, healthy streamside environments provide opportunities for outdoor recreation, promoting physical and mental well-being, while supporting industries that rely on these natural resources. And finally, connection. We are not in a vacuum. The work that we do and that our partners do is critical. We need to share what we learn and encourage others to do the same. And these networks are invaluable because they foster collaboration and collective impact. By connecting botanic gardens across the globe, we have the opportunity to join forces in large-scale conservation efforts, share resources, and develop joint initiatives that amplify our collective impact. Together, we can tackle issues like biodiversity loss, climate change, and habitat degradation in ways that would be impossible to achieve alone. And whether it's through sharing best practices or participating in global conservation projects, being part of these networks empowers gardens to do more, to be more effective in their missions, and to reach more people with their message of environmental stewardship. And perhaps most importantly, these networks help elevate the work of botanic gardens on the global stage. And by working together, we amplify our collective voice, advocating for policies that support plant conservation, sustainability, and the protection of our natural resources. We become stronger advocates for the planet, pushing for lasting change in the fight against climate change and environmental degradation. And through the Climate Change Alliance at Botanic Gardens, we are able to stay informed about the latest strategies for climate change adaptation. The Climate Change Alliance at Botanic Gardens was formed while I was Executive Director at Royal Botanic Gardens in Melbourne. And we brought together about 13 like-minded botanic and public garden institutions to have a conversation on climate change. And from that conversation and from that summit, the Alliance was born. And we made a commitment to continue that conversation and that network and the work and sharing the work of each other to help our partners in the botanic gardens and public gardens world. And I'm pleased to say that from those small beginnings back in 2018 of 13 founding members, the Climate Change Alliance has now grown to over 500 members across 97 countries. And this connection allows us to develop concrete actions for increasing the resilience of our landscapes and responding to the rapidly changing environment around us. And the framework and methodology that we have adopted to develop our own climate change adaptation plan at Longwood was developed by the Climate Change Alliance of Botanic Gardens and is available in the Landscape Succession Toolkit, which is an online resource to assist the public gardens in navigating and planning for the impacts of climate change. And this approach, it's a very simple approach. It contains 5 phases. And we are currently in phase 1 and 2 at Longwood of developing an understanding of climate change and identifying the risks. The tools that we use are based on predictive modelling, as mentioned earlier, from multiple data sets, often using thousands of individual plant records to provide robust information. However, with all plans and predictive modelling, the end result should be viewed as a management tool for interpreting and determining action. The Climate Toolkit is a wonderful initiative, and we are thinking about joining this right now at Longwood Gardens. It's a collaborative resource for museums, gardens, zoos, and other institutions to address climate change and inspire their communities. It includes 33 goals in areas like energy, water, waste, food service, transportation, landscapes, investments, engagement and research. And we are pursuing and evaluating being part of this. The goals were developed through input from the Directors of Large Gardens Group and will evolve over time based on member contributions. And the toolkit also aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and the Project Drawdown Table of Solutions. Of course, we share our knowledge through publishing papers, speaking at conferences, serving in leadership positions, and teaching others. It is essential because it advances the field by spreading new ideas, research, findings, and best practices to a wider audience. It builds collective capacity by empowering others with tools and information to take informed, effective action. It strengthens collaboration by connecting experts and institutions around shared challenges and opportunities. And of course, it inspires change by turning individual efforts into broader movements within science, conservation, education, and beyond. We learn by staying informed. You're better equipped to advocate for solutions, support your community, and contribute to a more sustainable, equitable future. Talk about it. While most people believe it is happening, we aren't talking about it. We need to be engaging our friends, our families, and our communities about this issue. We need to realise, well, we need people to realise they aren't alone. And Catherine Hayhoe has an excellent book about this called Saving Us. Eat more plants. From the World Economic Forum, quote is, if we combine pastures used for grazing with land used to grow crops for animal feed, livestock accounts for 77% of global farming. While livestock takes up most of the world's agricultural land, it only produces 18% of the world's calories and 37% of total protein. We can also plant more suitable plants. Planting more suitable plants, those adapted to changing conditions, boosts climate resilience, reduces resource use, supports biodiversity, and protects your investment by ensuring long-term plant success. It also strengthens ecosystem services like soil health, carbon storage, and clean water. And importantly, make changes where you can. Historically, the onus has largely been on the individual. While we need to be making conscious choices to reduce our impact, there does need to be societal and seismic shifts in the contribution of industry and government. That said, you know the individual acts you can do. Take public transport, be energy conscious, vote with your money, and vote in general. Of course, support places like Longwood. When you support Longwood, you are supporting biodiversity experts and enthusiasts. We are well connected and well poised to support global and local efforts. When you buy lunch at 1906 or purchase tickets for Longwood, Christmas, or take a course, you are supporting the mission of this garden. You are making an impact by funding our research and conservation work. And finally, stay hopeful. Now, this can be easier said than done, but people care about this earth. They want to see change. Industry is even recognising the need to become sustainable. Climate change is a messy, large-scale, tough issue, but people from all over the world are working together to protect biodiversity in all its forms, as biodiversity, of course, is essential for life. So this really is a message of hope. Smart, committed people are working together across many sectors, gardens, museums, zoos, science centres, and beyond to confront climate change with knowledge, with creativity, and with purpose. From restoring streamside habitats and planting resilient climate-adapted landscapes to sharing research, teaching others, and aligning with global frameworks, we are not acting alone. Through strong networks and collaborative tools, we're learning from one another. We're amplifying our impact and inspiring communities to join us. Together, we are not just responding to change, we are shaping a beautiful future that is more resilient, is biodiverse, and is alive with possibility. Every thoughtful action we take, every plant we choose, every drop of water we steward, every story we share, moves us closer to a world that works in harmony with nature. This is our shared work, and it is work worth doing. So thank you very much. That is my presentation. And I hope you've enjoyed listening and happy to take some questions.
Thank you so much, Chris. Very much appreciate your expertise. So one of the first questions is, where can I find information on the best plants, bushes, trees to plant in my garden and also sustain pollinators, birds, worms, etc.? Will Longwood have specific information available for the public?
Absolutely, it will. And I will say that not just Longwood, but many public gardens, of which there are many around this southeastern Pennsylvania area, are often the best places to start. That's where you will find really wonderful communicators, great horticulturists, and of course the day-to-day practices that we're undertaking. This work is already in train, and particularly with our tree species, but also with our perennials and with our shrub layers. We're always looking at planting resilient plants that will that are most suitable for today's climate, but will be most suitable for future climates as well. So I'd say a great place to start is at your local public garden, whether that be Longwood or somewhere else, and engage with people while you're there and look to gather that information. And there's also great information available on website as well.
Excellent. The next question that we have for you is, in light of current climate conditions, can you estimate the cost to Longwood on operating expenses?
In regard to climatic conditions,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really a quantifiable amount. It's really a change in practice and how we operate going forward. So we will still continue to maintain the gardens to an exceptionally high standard, but it's just about being a lot smarter in terms of the plants that we choose to plant going forward. So I would say that it's not quantifiable in those terms. It's more about a change in mindset, a change in practice, and a planned approach to making sure that these gardens are safeguarded for future generations. Of course, all great gardens require investment, and a garden is never finished. We are continually developing these gardens to ensure that they're here for our children's children to enjoy into perpetuity.
I love that. Gardens are never finished. I very much feel that in my heart right now. Okay, we have oh, this is just a nice comment. It's been a very useful and informative presentation. I look forward to a section on Longwood addressing the issues we face in our yards and gardens. So that, if there's any other questions. Well, I just want to say, Chris, thank you so much. Your expertise, the years that you have spent dedicated to this really just shows through all of the fabulous information you just provided in the context. And, I really appreciated the emphasis on hope and the fact that we are not alone and we need to be talking about this because it's such an important topic. And, if we are working towards this now, we can make that impact. So thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, everyone.